We are going to finish chapter 1 today. So a couple announcements before we start. So please contact me if you have any questions or if you need any kind of help. And make sure you CC Emily as well. You can ask me anything about like academic performance, learning, how to do college in general, or etc. So just ask away. If we can't help you, we know people who can help you, and we'll direct you to those people. Also, I highly encourage you to email me to schedule an appointment. Sometimes I know people might feel intimidated to contact the instructor or talk to the instructor. Don't worry about that. Just if you have any questions, just email me. Also, make sure you follow the email format. It's very important. Because when I look for emails, I look at the title first. If I don't see Psych 107, I might think, okay, it's not important enough. I will check it later. So if you want to get a more quick response, make sure you follow the email format. And also, it's a good habit. Makes you more professional in the future. Make sure you submit your stuff successfully on eCampus. If you successfully submit them, you will get a confirmation email, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. So if you don't get that email, maybe it means that you did not submit it. Maybe you're in the progress, you didn't click the button. So make sure you submit them successfully and get the confirmation email. Otherwise, I can't grade them. All right. Any questions? You're good? Okay. And also, if you can't hear me, if you want me to speak louder, let me know. So today we're going to talk about individual differences, and then we're going to talk about the history of psychology. We will briefly go over those topics, and we will talk about them in more details in the future classes. Okay, so sociology and psychology, we know that they both study people. What's the difference? Anyone know? Yeah.
Isn't sociology like group of people, psychology is individual?
Very good. So I'm trying to remember names. What's your name?
Marcus.
Marcus? Okay, cool. So very good. So sociology, they are studying the society as a whole. So they study gender, race, religions, social classes, etc. For psychology, we tend to study the individual. So we focus more on people's emotions, behaviors, thoughts, and etc. It's not like we don't overlap. Sometimes we do overlap, but we have different focuses. Okay. All right. Any questions on the difference between sociology and psychology? Good? Okay. So now let's do a class activity. I want you to look at the following photos, and then I want you to think inward, which is called introspection. And then I want you to find a sentence to describe your feelings or thoughts. It can be your emotions, it can be your memories, or anything else. Just anything comes into your mind. And then I want you to discuss this with your neighbor, what your feelings and thoughts are. Let's take less than a minute to talk about each photo. And then I want some volunteers to share their thoughts. Let me check this real quick. Okay. All right. So for online students, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself, or you can ask Emily. If there's any confusions, Emily, you can unmute yourself to ask me too, and pause me anytime.
I'll do that.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, so usually, when I did this before, I usually pass some toys to the classroom, but for safety reason, I'm not going to do that in this semester, so we're going to do the photos. Okay. So that's the picture, and now talk to your neighbors. Tell them what you think and what comes to your mind.
You want to go first?
Well, the first thing I saw was the cigarette, and then I just remember that I got it. But I was kind of upsetting to see it's
Strangely, the first thing I saw was a kid on the stilts. And it reminded me of the dumb stuff I used to do with my friends. Like, smoking was one of them, but like the dumb stuff we would do like with my friends like in the backyards and like all that stuff. But it also reminds me of like, I have siblings, so like there's like the young one that's trying to be more mature than the middle one, and then the old one's like whatever.
Okay, any volunteer? That was like a natural end of the discussion. So, do you need more time? Good. All right. Who wants to share what they think about this picture? Yeah.
The first thing I saw was the kid in the back with the stilts, so it just reminded me of all the dumb stuff I used to do at my back home with my friends.
Cool. Cool. So it reminds you of some past experience. Okay.
Mhm.
What's your name?
Luis?
Luis. All right. Very good. What else? Yeah.
I mean, for me, the first thing is a feeling of concern because there's a child who's doing something potentially dangerous to their health
Yeah.
at an early age, and
Yeah.
not something that you want to have. And even just bringing up ideas of like, are they not educated on the dangers of those? Should that be fixed?
Yeah. So this photo was taken almost like I think 200 years ago. So it's been a while. It's a very famous photo. All right. Very good. What's your name?
Ethan?
Ethan. Cool. So you worry about her health. That reminds you of your past memories. I'll take one more. Yes.
I like to see it because when I look at the boy in the back, I view that as like less dangerous than like the cigarette. Like he'll probably like break a leg and be fine in here, but like the little girl, like she's probably like, oh, the cigarette's not as bad because like the girl's just sitting there smoking it. And then like the little boy in the back, he could potentially hurt himself really bad, and she wants to like watch it.
So which one is worse in your opinion?
Well, if I was the little girl, I would think it was the guy on the stilts. Just probably break a leg and be fine in a month or two.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. What's your name?
Riley.
Riley? Cool. Very good. Okay, next picture. Now you can talk among yourself for another minute.
The first thing I thought of was it reminded me of the streets back in like my parents are from that like this jungle and then like really skinny street and stuff like that. Not like hurricanes, like it gets intense.
It just reminded me we had this ice tornadoes which is my brother which went up there. So it's kind of weird, but yeah, he was talking about how no one was hurt. There was a girl who lived in her house and so the bounds like she went into the bathroom and she survived. I was like, she had a girl to the hospital but yeah, so no one got hurt. So it was really nice.
Like a tornado? Like, where are you from? Okay, by that, that's right.
All right. Any volunteer? Yes.
I feel like either there's something we can't see or they're just panicking because the common sense thing I feel like would be to drive away, but they're getting out of their car.
Yeah. What's your name?
Cameron.
Cameron?
Yes.
Awesome. Yes.
The first thing I noticed was the white car, kind of like
Right here?
the wrong side of the road. Yeah. I also felt like a source of panic from everyone. Doors are open.
Oh, you say panic?
Yeah. I feel
Okay.
Like, yeah.
All right. What's your name?
Jacob.
Jacob?
Yeah.
Very good. I'll take one more. Maybe from this side. Yes.
For the first thing I saw was the tornado, and so I just thought like complete chaos. And of course, like everybody's freaking out, trying to flee. That's what it looks like to me. You know, there's car
Okay.
accidents, people are getting out of the car, freaking out.
All right, pretty good. So you kind of agree they're like panicking, right? Or you're confused by why they're getting out of the car?
But I think they're just panicking.
Okay, cool. So this is my first thought. I love tornadoes. And if I see one of those, I will get out of the car and take a picture. That's me. I think I saw one when I was driving down Texas, and then I wasn't sure because it's so far away. When I shared this with our lab mates, because we study the emotions of awe. Sometimes when people see nature seems like this, they feel a sense of awe, right? And I was like, I'll definitely get out of the car. And they're like, no, it's dangerous. And then I looked it up. Yes, it's very dangerous. So if you see a tornado, run. Yeah, run. All right, very good. Let's see, next one. All right, let's take a minute to discuss as well.
I get that. The first thing I thought was like, what type of monkeys they are. And the funny thing is, I know what type of monkeys they are. But yeah, I got the same things like warmth and like family. It's specifically like the thick fur and then like the red face. They're trying to stay like warm. I've seen this picture before.
Okay, that was quick. All right. What do you guys think? Yeah. Oh, wait. 1 second. I forgot. I forgot to ask names. What's your name? Nikki. Okay. Good. Nikki and.
Nadi.
Where are you? Oh, Nadi.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. If I forget to ask your name, remind me. I'm trying to remember faces. Okay. Very good. All right. Here. I'm gonna try to take someone else. Yes.
My name's Clarissa. And you're gonna start with.
Can you say that again?
Clarissa.
Clarissa?
Yes.
All right, cool.
It reminds me of like the warmth of a family, and I miss my family, so it reminds me of them.
Yeah. So it reminds you of family. Okay, very good. What else? Yes.
My name is Claire.
Claire?
I think that they just are showing different emotions in their friendship, and they're kind of really happy.
So are you saying that they have different emotions?
Yeah, like the one on the right kind of looks mad, and the one in the middle looks more content.
All right. What about? Wait. So you say which one is content?
The one in the middle.
Okay. What about this one?
He's just confused.
Okay. Very good. Very good. That's interesting. If you study social psychology in the future, there's this debate is that whether animals have emotions. I think it's a pretty interesting topic. Do you guys think animals have emotions? Yeah. Some people argue that they don't. It's all learned responses. But yeah.
What do you think?
I think they have emotions for sure, but when you get into the discussion, some of the arguments that they bring up, it's kind of
Can you
conveying
also
to.
make the argument that emotions are like learned sometimes?
Yes. Well, emotions. We're going off topic. I'll just mention this real quick. So emotions. I think we're going to talk about that later too. We have basic emotions. So those are we're born with, and we also have some kind of emotions that we learn, like shame. Little kids, when they pee themselves, they don't know shame, right? But when you get older, you learn about that emotions. But you know anger or sad when you just born. You don't need to learn that. But good question. All right. So Clarissa, Claire. Okay, cool. All right, next. This is the last picture. All right, feel free to talk about it.
It's kind of like
pink vibe. Like, what's her name? I don't know what the paint style, like the coloring, reminds me of like Spain, like some type of like Spanish like artist or something like that. But yeah, that's really that I think that's the whole point of the thing, and I really like it.
All right, let's take some volunteer. I saw a comment from the online student says dance with death from Lilian. What else? Yes.
It kind of reminds me of that painting, The Scream, where there's like kind of the same background. I also
Okay.
think it's kind of interesting how like the skeleton in some ways seems more alive than the lady, just with her being all like slouched over.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like a good juxtaposition.
All right, very good. Ethan, right? Cool. Yes.
Andreas.
Andrea?
I think that like dancing is like obviously, but also like the dancing on the edge and maybe like fall over. You could like add to that maybe.
At the edge? Okay, good. All right. So what does that behavior reminds you of? Or like
That's like dangerous.
dangers? Okay. All right. I'll take one more. Yes.
It reminds me of like, I don't know, like old like Latin or like Spanish type of like art style.
Gotcha.
Like the color palette and like how it's painted, it reminds me a lot of like that type of century or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. That skeleton reminds me of that cartoon. I forgot the name. Like the little kid went to the underworld.
Coco?
Yeah.
The movie?
Yeah. That skull reminds me of that. All right, very good, very good. So, okay. So we see that even with the same picture, everyone can have very different sensation and perception, right? That's individual differences. So the key point is that individuals' experience and thoughts are subjective and unique. And we should be more considerate and shouldn't just assume that others will think like us. Sometimes people do that, right? You like a song and then the other one doesn't like it. You're like, how can't you like the song? Like, you crazy, right? A lot of times people do that without noticing. Okay, so now I want you to have a discussion. Imagine if you always assume that other people think like you, what will happen?
Oh God.
All right, feel free to talk about it.
Alright. If I saw people would think like me, I would get in so much trouble. Like I feel like I would accidentally like offend people, or it also could be like if I assume that your thing is hitting me, I think that it will go less communication. Like you can go faster, but at the same time, God, I feel like people might like take it the wrong way because sometimes the way I think can be offensive, and you have to like have to filter yourself sometimes. But yeah, that's what I.
I feel like it causes a lot of problems, like especially like if you're in a small environment and then like it sounds like it's a business and you assume that everyone's thinking like you, then it's gonna get solved.
And also, if everyone's thinking like you, there's no room for like a third person point of view, because then what happens if like I don't see something, and then
That's some
there's an error.
very quick discussions. Do you have enough time, or you just don't want to talk about this with strangers?
It's day 2.
Day 2? All right, yeah. And you guys haven't read the textbook yet, right?
No.
Who read the textbook?
They're like part of it.
A little bit? Okay, very good, very good.
Found the link.
I assume that you haven't read the textbook for the first week, so don't worry. That's why I want you to read them first, and then we'll have more fruitful discussions, right? So in the future, next class, I will try to give you more time to discuss your opinions, and then if you have any questions, it'll be great too. Okay, so someone tell me what you talked about. Okay.
Well, I guess one big thing is just if you assume that everyone else is thinking like you, then you're going to kind of gloss over a lot of things and also have a big miscommunication between other people.
Mhm.
Because if you don't share ideas with other people, you're just going to assume that everyone else already knows those things. And that just leaves a lot of stuff out. And also, you're probably going to offend a lot of people, because if you think that everyone, isn't offended by things that don't offend you, then you're not going to offend anyone. But obviously, that's not the case in the real world.
Okay.
It's just a big miscommunication then.
Cool. So miscommunication might be offensive. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Anyone? Yeah.
I wouldn't like it because I'm not good at math, and like sometimes I do stuff and I end up getting mad at myself. So I'm like, okay, next time I won't do that. And like I know if everyone else saw like me and like did things like me, like there wouldn't be room for growth as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you grow more if you try to understand other people. Okay. What's your name again?
Riley.
Riley, Ethan. All right. You guys are pretty quiet. Is it because I'm looking this way? No? You just don't want to talk? I'm gonna towards this way. All right. Anyone? Take some responses from you guys. Yeah.
I definitely read that as if everybody thought like you, but because like if everybody thought like you, but I feel like there's two problems. Either like if you assume everybody thinks like you, everybody's just gonna dislike you.
Mm-hmm.
But if everybody thought the same, like actually, there would be like a bunch of world problems, because I can't solve all the world problems by myself.
Yeah. What's your name?
Claire.
Claire. Okay. I'm still trying to learn names, so if I ask you multiple times, please bear with me. Okay. So very good. People would think that you're selfish, right? You're egocentric. What else? Narcissist. They kind of do that, right? They don't care about what other people think. They're like, it's all about me. What else? Psychopath and sociopath, they're a little bit different. They just don't understand other people's emotion, but we'll talk about that more. And we'll talk about narcissists too. Egocentric. We know that kids, they don't know about this until like 3 or 4 years old. So sometimes we feel like, oh, little kids, they're selfish. It's just that their brain hasn't developed to understand this yet. But we will talk about that, I think, next week or the week after. All right. So the point is, make sure you know everyone thinks differently, and don't get mad if people have different opinions with you. Okay. All right. Any questions on individual differences? Good? Nice. Okay. Now let's talk about the history of psychology. The things that we're going to talk about, you don't need to remember the years. It would be great if you can remember, but it's not going to be on the exam, so don't worry about the years. However, I want you to know the people that I'm talking about and then what they did. Okay. So first, we have psychophysics. This is technically before psychology. People were learning more about physiology, like physics. The key people are Ernest Weber and Gustav Fechner. So their focus is to learn how do people perceive physical properties, such as color, sound, brightness, weight, etc. So it's not really about psychology like our mind. It's more about perception and sensation. Okay. And then next we have Wilhelm Wundt. He set up the first psychology laboratory. And we have Edward Titchener. So now they're starting to look into people's mind, and we call this structuralism because they want to study the elements of mind. So the question is, what is the mind made up of? And the methods that they do is introspection. It's like they ask people to think inward. Right? So this is the first time. So why this is important? Set up the first psychology laboratory. Anyone knows? Yes.
It sets up like the building blocks of how like psychology research is done now.
Yes. So this differentiates what's before. So before this, people studied this like philosophy or physics. But now they're doing experiments. They're trying to figure out, okay, what's going on with people's mind. Very good. Introspection, the definition is to describe each aspect of conscious experience. And then they break down each experience to learn people's mind. So Wundt and Titchener, they study humans' experience with two discrete components. One is people's feelings, and they call it the mental aspect. I think this is Wundt. Let me take a look. Yes, Wundt, he focuses on people's feelings. So he asks you, do you feel pleasure or displeasure? Do you feel relaxed or tensed? Do you feel excited or depressed? And then Titchener, he focuses on people's sensation, which is the physical aspect of a experience. So he will ask you to describe the quality, the intensity, and the clearness of this object. So what I used to do is give people toys to play with, and then I would ask them, okay, when you feel the toy, what do you feel? Do you feel like the quality of the toy, like intensity? Do you feel intense? Like, do you feel any intense emotions and the clearness? So that's the two components that Wundt and Titchener was focusing on. Any questions? We good? Okay. So the limitation for structuralism is that they are studying very subjective stuff. And those information is very unique based on each individual, right? When I asked about your specific experience, it's kind of hard to apply it to someone else. Does it make sense? So your experience makes up your feelings, and it might not apply to other people. Right, so that's the limitation for structuralism. Next, we have functionalism, and the key person is William James. His focus is on the function of mental process. And here are some examples. He will ask questions like, what function does consciousness have? And what function does a behavior have? And then what function does an emotion have? I will give you some example. We know that people have different emotions, right? We just talked about. So he will ask, what are the functions of emotions? Like when people get angry, what's the function of anger? Can you think of what anger does to people?
Makes you do like irrational things sometimes.
Direct something?
Like irrational things. Like when you're angry,
Irrational.
Irrational. I mean.
So that's the dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
So what would be the function of being angry? Say that again? Justice? Okay. So it makes you want to act, right? So it's like a motivation. It drives people to do something. Sometimes it helps people overcome obstacles when they're angry, right? What about sadness? What's the function of sadness? Yes.
I mean, in some ways it provides empathy between humans, and that's a way to connect with others because we're kind of a tribal species.
Okay, so it's a communication, right? Very good. Also, sadness can be another motivation too, right? All right, very good. Any questions on the functionalism? Good. Okay. And then next we have Sigmund Freud. His focus is on psychoanalytic. Are you guys familiar with him? I think he's like the stereotypical guy for psychology. So he focuses on unconscious conflicts, people's impulses, and their motivations. He used hypnosis, free association, and dream analysis to study this. And we're going to talk about this more in details. Anyone know? So you know what hypnosis is, right?
Yeah.
Do you know free association?
No.
Okay, so free association is a task that that he will ask people to do. So I will give you a term, and I ask you to tell me what you think about immediately after you see the term. And then based on your response, I learn about your impulses and your unconscious thoughts. Does that make sense? All right. Well, we'll do some exercises when we talk about Freud. Sorry, it's getting hot. Okay, so unconscious thoughts. Let's say I like eating apples, and then my reason is that apple is tasty, and then apple makes me healthy. He will argue, no, that's not the real reason that you like eating apples. It's because of your unconscious thoughts. It's maybe when you're younger, when you're like 1 year old, your parents fed you apple every single day, and then you develop this habit eating apple, but you don't know it. So that would be his argument. Okay. So constant conscious conflicts within a person determine behavior and mental health. That's again psychoanalytic suggestion. So everything that Freud does, it's about our unconsciousness. That's how I remember psychoanalytic and Freud. And this is when you see in the movies, psychologists ask people to lay down and then think about things and then tell the psychologist. That's mostly psychoanalytic. So, see the angel and devil. So impulses to satisfy personal desire versus the need to follow society's rules. A lot of times our desires is not allowed in our society rules, right? So we need to make a balance between them. And if there's conflicts, it might affect our mental health. That's Freud's idea. Question? Good? All right. So psychoanalysis, that's the therapy focused on bringing unconsciousness into consciousness awareness. So we know that, I don't know if you guys know, so when people encounter traumatic events, some people have this defense mechanism is they block out that memory. Have you guys heard about that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it's especially kids, if they have any traumatic events, they don't remember when they grow up. It's not like they don't remember, it's they choose, their brain choose not to remember this. So they have a way to bring that unconsciousness into consciousness. Okay. All right, so that's psychoanalytic. Next, we have Gestalt. The key person is Max Wertheimer. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. Wertheimer. So his focus is to study the whole of any experience because they think that whole experience is richer than studying individual aspects of that experience. So this is the opposite of structuralism. Do you remember structuralism? We're breaking down experience into elements, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the opposite. If I ask you what do you see here, most people would say triangles, right? Even though there are many pieces missing, we still see triangle. So that's what Gestalt means. You're looking at the whole picture, and you're not like focusing on those not important details. Okay. So for Max Wertheimer, he suggests that the mind often processes information simultaneously rather than sequentially. That's why we focus on the whole experience. All right. Let's read this paragraph. Can you read it?
I see.
Yeah, you can read it, right?
Yeah.
But they're all messed up. People still read it. Be able to read it, it's because we focus more on the whole experience. That's their argument. I'm not saying this is correct. Maybe this is just one aspect of psychology. Okay, so, but you get the idea, right? Okay, good. Next, we have behaviorism. The key people are John Watson and B.F. Skinner. So their focus is to learn people's observable behavior. If you remember the stuff that we just talked about, they all rely on subjective perceptions, right? They're not looking at people's behavior. You remember, like the Gestalt, psychoanalytic, functionalism, structuralism, not that, but all the others, they focus more on the subjective experience. So right now, behaviorism, they want to look at actually measurable behaviors. And it's pretty straightforward. They're looking at behavior, that's why it's called behaviorism. Okay. Oh, the method, of course, it's observing people's behavior. So John Watson, this is his quote. He says that nothing is unconscious. So he disagrees with Freud completely. He will say that if he has a dozen of healthy infants, he will guarantee to take any of them at random and then make them to become something based on solely his education. So nothing is nature, everything is nurture. Everything is about the environment. Does that make sense? Okay, all right. Please ask me if you have any questions. Next, I'm going to show you a short video. It's what Watson did. It's experiment. So he argued that even phobia is a learned behavior, and I'll show you why.
To prove that environment is more powerful than genetics.
1 second. Can you guys hear? Yeah? Okay.
Watson designs an experiment for an infant known as Little Albert. He's so confident, he films it for posterity. At first, Albert shows little fear, even when Watson places a burning newspaper in front of him. Albert is also unafraid when he encounters a white rat for the first time in his life. But then Watson shows Albert the rat accompanied by a loud clanging noise. One of the few things that upsets little Albert. And he does it again. And does it again. Eventually, Albert learns to fear not just the rat, but all furry things, even without the loud noise. In Watson's mind, The little Albert experiment is a success because it proves that fears are learned, not inherited. Watson calls his theory behaviorism and begins to popularize it. He urges parents to take active control of their children's upbringing by shaping their environment. To think of the home as a scientific laboratory.
Do you guys agree? Yeah, Tuesday? What do you think about that experiment, the little Albert experiment?
Poor kid.
It's awful, right?
Like,
And do you remember the definition of psychology we learned on Wednesday? Is to help people, right? I think that's after all the bad stuff happened, and then we made a code. So there are a lot of unethical studies. That's why we need to have review board. It's called IRB here at the school. They will review whether your study is ethical, whether it will cause more harm to the participants than benefits, and then they will make a decision whether you can conduct the study or not. So here, I think little Albert, he did not live long. He died pretty soon after. I don't know if it's because of the experiments or, but it's a sad story. He learned something though, is that environment is very important. Because before this, people always think, oh, genetics is very important, but they don't think about the environment. Okay, very good. Okay, next we have humanistic psychology. The key people are Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. We'll talk about Rogers and Maslow in the future. So their focus is that human growth and positive development are the key. So they want to focus on love and self-worth and some, like all the positive aspects of people. And they reject behaviorism because they believe that people are inherently good. Okay. I think sometimes when we talk about clinical psychology, we learn something like positive therapy, or we call client-centered, is we love the client unconditionally. So we let them express their distress, and we give them positive feedback to help them be better, to get healthier. So that's humanistic psychology, and it's based on this. Yes?
When you mean like the way they think like we're born like good, is that the idea that like all the like bad mannerisms like hate and all that is like learned through like just through like society and stuff like that?
So my understanding is that they don't think they're necessarily evil. They're just doing bad stuff. Does it make sense?
Yeah, okay, I get it now.
And you can teach them through giving them positive feedback and giving them love. I think they believe that sometimes people do bad stuff because they don't experience love. They lack love. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, good question. Okay, we still have some time. Let's do some practice question. So who set up the first psychology laboratory? Remember? Yes, you can just say it. It's not like, yeah, very good. So when, if you don't remember, that's fine. Just go back and read about it. You remember, trust me. So why was William James important to the field of psychology? Is it he proposed functionalism, or is it he has two first names, or is it that he worked with Freud on psychoanalysis, or he helped many people with mental disorder at the time? Okay, very good, very good. Chen is talking to his therapist about his struggle with depression recently. the therapist believes that Chen's problem are due to unconscious inner disturbance that needed to be explored. What perspective does this therapist follow?
See?
See? Very good. So psychoanalytic for it. Very good. Big Albert went to a therapist because he is really frustrated and angry due to a bad exam grade. However, the therapist told Big Albert that his negative emotions might not be a problem. Instead, those emotions might make him study harder for the next exam. What perspective does this therapist follow? D. Agree? Any other opinions? So yes, D. So functionalism is that they think, yes, emotions, they're not a problem. Even for anger, it should serve some kind of functions. All right, very good. Any questions? So that will be something similar to your exam questions. I will give you situations or stories, and then you need to identify and pick the best answers. If you are used to like very scientific studies like math, chemistry, that you have absolutely one correct answer, it's not the case here. Because humans, we have so many variables that we can't control for. Everyone's different. We're studying the general pattern of people. So we're choosing the best options out of them. So don't argue with me, oh, that's not the case for me. Well, it's the case for everyone else. So remember that. Just don't think way too much when you do the exam questions. Okay, if you don't have any questions, I'm gonna give you some reminders and we are done. Your second quiz is due Monday, so make sure you read chapter 1 and 2. It helps you recap and then preview what's going on. Don't forget your attendance on Google Doc. Make sure you do that. Make friends and try to form a study group or a project group, because you will have a team project at the end of the semester. And also, study group is very helpful and important. Even though you might have heard that, yeah, I like to study alone, I study better by myself. But if you have a good study group, it's definitely better than study alone. It's based on psychology, so trust me. Okay. Then next class is about chapter 2. That's it. Thank you guys.